to a very special bonus episode of Bear Necessities, the world's greatest podcast about the Coventry Bears. We live at covbearspodcast.com, we're at covbearspodcast on Twitter, and we're sponsored by the Bears Vice Presidents and York's Tim. Now, why is this episode so special, you might be wondering? Well, because we're joined by a man who is synonymous with the Coventry Bears, a man who has been there from the start, who has done just about every job possible at the club, and who has been one of Bears CEO Alan Robertson's most trusted lieutenants for 20 years. That man is, of course, Ron Banks. I caught up with him a couple of weeks ago for a chat about his involvement with the club and loads more besides that, and you're about to hear that chat right now. There's no doubt the club wouldn't be what it is today without Ron, so both Craig and I are really grateful that he was able to join us on the show. So, without further ado, let's meet Ron.
I'm Ron Banks. I'm the president of the Coventry Bears, and I've been with the Bears since we started.
Well, Ron, thanks for taking the time, and welcome back to the podcast, because I know we had you on briefly last season. I've got lots of questions for you, but to start, what does the role of club president actually involve? What does it mean you do with the club?
It's very much a nice job to have.
Yeah.
In the past I've done everything, but now we just sort of meet and greet people.
Okay.
We go to the odd clubs meetings, but generally it's just about enjoying yourself, shaking hands and saying hello to everyone.
You're being a friendly face of the club.
Trying to be a friendly face,
okay.
yeah.
So, anyone who knows you knows that you're a Cumbrian.
Mm-hmm.
So how...
I'm a Lancastrian, do you mind?
Or Lancastrian, sorry. Bad start to the interview. So how did you end up in Coventry?
I came when I was a child. I came with my mum and dad, and we came from Barrow, which was in Lancashire then.
Oh, okay, I see, there's my defence.
Yeah. And I was always interested in rugby league. Used to watch it with my dad.
Well, I was going to ask, I guess it was in your blood coming from Barrow. I mean, how did you get your fix at it when you were in the Midlands?
Only from what was on TV.
Right.
That's all there was. So it was the old Eddie Waring Up and Under days.
Yeah.
And things like the BBC Two floodlit competition. And that was as much of it. And very rarely would go up to Barrow and I'd take a game up there.
Okay. Did you ever almost feel starved, sort of feel, or even feel, I don't know, resentful that you were in an area where there was no rugby league to go and watch on your doorstep when you were?
Not really, because I was much more interested in soccer in those days as well.
Okay.
So probably my main sport would have been soccer in those days because of the fact there was no rugby league. So I adopted soccer instead.
Fair enough.
And that was a substitute that filled a gap, I guess, filled a need.
So, as the legend goes, when the Bears were being set up 20 years ago, Alan Robertson takes an ad out in the local paper asking for anyone interested in helping and running the club, and you saw that ad and you went for it, and you've kind of been here since. I mean, was it that simple?
It was that simple. One evening I was reading the local paper, the Coventry Telegraph. I saw that it was starting a rugby league club straight away, of course. I thought, oh wow, I need to go and see what that's about. I went along, and I remember we were all given little slips of paper, asking what we wanted to do, what position we would play, and all that sort of stuff.
And what position did you play?
And I just put down, far a bit too old for that now. I just did, if you've got a job, I'll do it. I don't care what I do. And I was thinking I might be selling programmes or something. It turned out to be much more than that, of course.
So what were you involved with in those early days? So I know, were you involved in the Bukit collections to raise money for kit?
Yeah.
Was it literally anything and everything?
It was literally everything. There was Alan and a couple of other guys and myself, and we just sort of split up everything between us.
Yeah.
And I've cut the grass, I've marked the pitch, sold programmes. When Coventry Rugby Union were playing in the winter, I used to sell raffle tickets, and that to raise money. I was working at Rolls-Royce at the time, and I used to, every Friday I'd go around all of those blackout cards, and that was enough to wash the kit every week.
Wow.
So it really was, and printed the programmes, written the programmes. Just name a job that needs doing, and literally I've done it.
So pretty much everything apart from take to the pitch and play.
But I never ever played.
I'm guessing you didn't play when you were younger either, because you weren't in the right area.
I only played rugby union. I played rugby union at school. I never liked it.
Is it a regret that you never got to actually play rugby?
Absolutely. When we first started, I was going on 50 then. I think I was 50, but I think I could have turned out for the second team.
Right.
And it actually wasn't long after that I had an accident that I can hardly walk now. In some ways, I walk odd, but prior to that, I could have played. I could, and that's a regret. It is a regret. If we only had 5 minutes of their shirt.
Yeah. What position would you have fancied?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't have used my speed on the wing, that is for definite. I guess somewhere in the forward, so
Yeah.
that would have been it.
Okay. So those early years of the Bears, and before the Bears got into the NCL setup, I get the impression it was very much just a bit of a scrabble to find matches to play against and to organise things. What were those early years like?
No, it wasn't really. What happened was that in those days there was the Rugby League Conference, which was an up and running, quite a strong competition.
Yeah.
We applied to go into that, but we weren't accepted for the first year.
Mm-hmm.
We were told that we needed to play a season of friendlies to show that we were a viable operation. And so that's what we did, and that's when we played one or two of the local clubs. Our first ever game was at Worcester.
Yeah.
We played Birmingham Bulldogs. They were actually called Birmingham Bulls then. I think it was the Chicago Bulls objected to them and that to add the Bulldogs.
Oh, right. Okay.
We played the Armed Forces, England students.
Mm-hmm.
So teams like that just to prove our worth. And then the following year we entered into what was a very strong competition, the Rugby League Conference, with a lot of teams.
And what were those early years like? Was it just a lot of excitement at building this club? Was it daunting when you got into the conference and saw a level of opposition? How was it?
One of the things that you always got to praise Alan Robertson for is that every team that he ever put out was always a very competitive team.
Yeah.
So we pretty much took everything by storm. We were, even in our very first game, we thrashed an existing team in our very first game, held our own against people like the Army, and so when we went into the conference in that first year, we did really well, and we got to the semi-final. We lost out at Wilderspool to Rotherham, which was a real shame, not only because we lost in the semi-final, but also because the final was going to be held at Camden Road.
Okay.
So we would have been playing at home in our first year in the final. So we got to a semi-final.
Yeah.
So we were a strong team.
Was it frustrating at all, or but being outside of the Heartlands when you were trying to set the Bears up? I mean, you're still outside the Heartlands, but particularly when you were setting the Bears up, was it frustrating where you were geographically? Was it difficult to get people to take Coventry seriously at all?
No, it wasn't, and I put that down to the strength of the Rugby League Conference.
Yeah.
In those days, the Rugby League Conference was much stronger than it is today. There were a lot of teams in the Midlands, Leicester, Wolverhampton, Nottingham, Derby. So there were teams all around that were quite a good standard. They weren't the same standard as the Bears, but they were quite a good standard. And so it was a viable competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so in terms of the fixtures and attracting players, we never had a problem. We got some really good rugby union players came to play for us.
Okay. So I've only really come to the Bears since they've been involved in League One, to be honest. So I kind of missed out on all those the amateur years and the conference years and stuff. I'm curious, what were they like compared to what it's like coming to watch the Bears now? What were those years like for the club? Were they fun to be part of?
It was always hard work.
Yeah.
It was never anything other than hard work.
Yeah.
Because all the things that we were talking about before, the programme selling and all that sort of stuff, had to be done. We were very much a community club.
Yeah.
Involved with a lot of rugby union clubs in the city, and a lot of rugby union players. So, to be fair, it wasn't really that difficult in terms of attracting players. Put that down to Alvin, of course, as I said before. Alan could always attract people to come and play. He'd played for England students, for Great Britain students, you'd go mad if I say England. He played for Great Britain students. And so he brought some of those players with him as well. Yeah. So we were always a good team.
And when in those early years, when you were marking the pitch, selling the programmes, sorting the kit out, all of that stuff, could you ever have imagined that in a relatively short space of time, fast forward, the Bears would be involved in the professional structure?
I was only thinking about this morning. 20 years ago when we were getting started, Bradford Bulls were the world champions. We're playing them next week.
Yeah.
And that sort of, I've reflected on it before, but it came back to me again this morning, how far we've come in 20 years. And that was a sort of, is it ever possible that we could play teams like that 20 years ago? No. So that's not, well, hopefully one day it will. And now here it is, 20 years on. Today we've got Whitehaven, Cumbrian, Heartland team.
Yeah.
No, it's a dream. Incredible, really.
Yeah.
It really is incredible.
So when the club got the nod for League One, what were you thinking then? Was it excitement? Was it panic? Where were you on the emotions?
It just seemed to be the logical next step.
Yeah.
We were always trying to push the club forward. We've been playing in the NCL for a couple of years, holding our own. Not setting the world alight there, but holding our own. And it just seemed that, especially with 4 or 5 years ago, they brought in some new teams, Oxford, Cheltenham or Gloucester. And we felt as though we ought to be part of that. And we're a little disappointed that we didn't get in with that first tranche.
Right.
We had to wait, yet again, we had to wait another year.
Yeah. Okay. And how have you enjoyed the League One year so far? 'Cause we're into this 4th season of the Bears at this level.
It doesn't get any easier. It's a continuous learning curve. I remember we played Oxford in our first year, and the guy from Oxford said about every year you get a new team because your good players go.
Yeah.
And that has proved to be pretty true. Of course, we made this decision this year that we were going to try and cut down on travellers. We made a conscious decision that we want to be much more Midlands based. And I think that's showing signs of coming to fruition already, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because not only have the Bears, they've made that shift in their recruitment strategy, but we've also got the link up with the Dragons has been formalised in the last couple of weeks as the Midlands Hurricanes. So there is a real pathway now. And as we were saying at the start of the interview, when you came down to Coventry, there's no rugby league in the area. And now, if there's youngsters out there who want to play, there is a pathway through to the Bears. That must fill you with great excitement for the region.
Yeah, not only is it good that we've got this recognition within the city, but we've actually got recognition throughout the game.
Yeah.
I'm hearing all the time that people think that what Coventry Bears doing, the way we're doing things, is the right way. And I think a lot of clubs in the Heartlands have got a bit of a soft spot for what we're doing here in Coventry. And very supportive too.
So, question I've got, the big question I've got for you really is, I mean, you've been involved in this club from the start, as we've discussed, and anyone who's come to a game will probably have seen you, might even have met you. It's a very good chance. What keeps you coming back every weekend?
In a way, I guess it becomes a bit of a habit, doesn't it? But it's still a passion for rugby league. I've never lost that. I'm watching games all the time. If there isn't a game on, my wife's very good. She lets me go. So I go and watch games whenever I can. Around the Midlands, I travel up north. So I've still got a passion for the game.
Have you ever wanted to quit?
Yes, I nearly quit. On my way, we were talking before about the game at Warrington.
Yes.
On the way up there, I decided that this was going to be my last game.
Yeah. This is the game lost by a point.
That was the road we got knocked out by Rotherham in Warrington at Wilderspool, and I decided on the way up there that I'd finished, and I would break it to them on the way back.
Right.
And I couldn't.
What changed your mind?
I think it was a touch of job not done.
Yeah.
That was part of it. I actually went out on the pitch at the end of the game on my own, and I shed a tear.
Yeah.
Because I just felt as though we got to the end of the road, and that's how I was going to go out. And I think at some point there I thought, you can't go now.
Yeah.
You can't go now.
Well, I think we're all glad you changed your mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Does your motivation around how you work with the Bears, has it changed over the 20 years? When you're getting involved in Bears stuff now, are you approaching it differently to how you would have done 20 years ago? Because you said earlier your role now is very much less involved in many ways. So I'm guessing you don't have to do quite as much. Does that change your mindset at all?
Not really, but perhaps it does a little bit. But we're a much more professional team in every sense of that word, and so there is no need for me to do all the jobs that I used to do before, and that was a bit of an onus at times. But now I just feel as though the club is on the brink, I hope, of making a breakthrough, and I'm proud and pleased to be a part of it. And so I think it's in my blood now. I don't think I could. Yeah. It's nice to be able to just do less.
Yeah. Do you ever look back at the last 20 years and just take stock at what the club's achieved?
All the time. As I was saying before, just this morning when I was reflecting on Bradford Bulls. So yeah, I do. And again, I'll pay tribute to Alan Robertson that he's been the driving force behind the club. He was the one that attracted players, consistently attracted good players. And I can't believe really that we just kept moving on and moving on. Been very few times we've actually, this year wasn't as good as last year. Yeah. Usually we built year on year. Yeah. I should think of about 16 of the 20 years we've done better than last year. Probably even 18 of the last 20 years.
And when you look at it like that, it's even more incredible.
Yeah.
So if I had to push you for a favourite Bears memory from the first 20 years of the club, what?
Favourite Bears memory.
Or if a single memory is a bit too difficult to pin down, then maybe if there's a particular period that has a bit more meaning.
I guess that the 2004 when we won the NCL3 was a pretty special year. Winning the Harry Jepson in 2002 was pretty special because that was, bearing in mind that we'd only started in sort of 2000, 99, 2000. To win the competition that we'd entered in 2002 was a major step forward. In 2004, and some great players, met some really good friends. I'd like to think if I ever went to Australia, there's plenty of people that I could go and say hello to in Australia. Yeah. So golden memories all the way around, really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so obviously this season's the 20th anniversary. It's one of those natural points where you look back, as we've just been doing, but you look forward as well. What do you see the next 20 years holding for the Bears, or what do you hope the next 20 years holds for the Bears?
I'd like to see us make that breakthrough. I'm very conscious that in all the divisions, all three divisions, each division is in two parts. There's the top of each division and there's the bottom. And so our immediate goal is to try and break into the top group of this division. Then it will be moving on from there.
Yeah.
But I think that we're now putting the building blocks into place that the club will grow organically. One of the things that we've always got to remember is that our budget is our budget. Yeah. We need to work with it and to progress within that budget. Okay. That's a challenge.
And lastly from me, bit of a cheeky question. Blame Craig for this. He's the one who suggested it. So we obviously know you're from Barrow. Your other team is Barrow.
Yeah.
Last season, Barrow were here playing Bears in the league.
Yeah.
Who were you supporting?
I was supporting Coventry.
Okay. Is that always the case now?
That is the case. I am a Coventry supporter first now, a Barrow supporter second.
Okay. We've got it on tape.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Ron, that was brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave.